In the authors section, we'll speak to Samantha Brown from the Travel Channel. On Web Tips, we'll check out a site for solo travelers. David shares his perspective on the history of voluntourism. Do you know your state has a volunteer partnership with a Latin country? Traveltelevision talks to Partners of the Americas to learn more.
Hi, I'm Mark Brown. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're down in New Orleans, Louisiana for our Christmas, New Year's holiday. And we decided to come down this year. We've never done anything like this before because we felt like we had spent enough vacations on the beach and doing something for other people, and also getting a first-hand awareness of what it's really like to suffer tragedy and struggle and strife was very appealing. It's a good time for my kids because they're 12 and 16 now, so they can really do a lot of different things. We spent the last couple of days working on a house, helping to rebuild a house, doing tiling and cabinetry. We have no skills, so to speak, and we were able to help out there. And today we're doing some yard work, grass, weeds, weed whacking, tree cutting, stuff like that. I'd recommend it to anybody. It's a great way to spend time. It's good for the family, it's good for the region, and it'll make you feel good. I'm going to do it again.
To see volunteer stories, go to www.projectkatrinavolunteers.net.
Samantha Brown has been host for the Travel Channel since the year 2000. She has hosted many series including Great Hotels, Great Vacations Homes, and most recently the Passport series including Passport to Latin America. She can now be seen on Passport to Great Weekends. Samantha travels almost 9 months of the year and remains one of the most popular hosts and fresh faces in the world of travel. Traveltelevision caught up with her in New York at the Times Travel Show.
We are here at the New York Times Travel Show in New York City. I'm standing here right now in the flesh with Samantha Brown. She is known for her fantastic personality, going to wonderful places, and providing you, the viewers, with an amazing passport to travel all over. How are you today?
Very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So I bet you've had an exciting day today.
Yeah, it's been very exciting.
Meeting face to face these people who've been loving you for years, and it's surreal for you just as much as for them.
It really is, because when you travel abroad, people don't get the show, or
Exactly.
Don't get the Travel Channel, and so you can move around pretty with a lot of anonymity, and then you get here and like, oh my goodness.
Oh, you're actually seeing me.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, right, exactly.
You know who I am.
Oh, someone does watch the show. Well, that's good to know.
So what makes travel so exciting and enthusiastic?
People, just making a connection with people. I always say that what's really great about my job is not necessarily that I get to go to France or Germany or Argentina, is that I get to spend time in someone else's life and getting their perspective and learning about a place through another person. And so the travel experience to me becomes much more intimate and personal when that's the focus.
So are there 3 top destinations that you absolutely can't forget?
I would say in Europe it would be Berlin. I loved Berlin. I felt like the excitement of the city was happening now, where when you visit, say, New York City, or you visit Rome, their golden age was in the past. You visit the Roman Colosseum, but if you're in Berlin, it's happening now. What that city is about to become is happening now, and I thought that was really exciting. I love Nicaragua. Nicaragua is one of my favorite places to visit. And I would say in the United States, it's Montana or Wyoming, because we're a young country, the United States, and yet when you look at the land, we're billions of years old, and it can't help but resonate in your soul that, our I guess, solidness, like, for lack of a better word. There really isn't a place that if you said, hey, do you want to go here? I would say no. Like next week, I'm going to Philadelphia, awesome. And I'm excited.
Oh, beautiful.
And look at the view.
Ah.
Welcome to Philadelphia.
That is gorgeous.
Isn't that neat?
Well, this has to be one of the best kept secrets of this city, that one of the best views is from the prison.
I brought some champagne.
Oh, all right. Just staying above the law and only visiting penitentiaries on a great tour.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Do you have any tips for first-time travelers as to what they should make sure they do not forget?
Oh, forget like in their suitcase?
In their suitcase once they reach their destination.
I think you should not forget patience. I think it's more of a mindset you shouldn't forget. You should realize that You're not trying to hold on to what you know in your culture, you're trying to experience another one. And so don't fight it, do what they do, go where the locals go, don't necessarily stick to the travel hotspots. Go out to the neighborhoods, eat at their cafes, talk to somebody. Even with very few words between you, you really can communicate, so make that effort.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Samantha,
Thank you.
and good luck on your next adventure.
Thanks so much.
I came to New Orleans because when it first happened, I really wanted to do something and I didn't have the chance. And the opportunity came up with DC, JCC, and Barron Builders to actually do something that was more of starting the process with the demolition, and felt like giving back to the community in a way that I could. This experience has taught me a lot. About how much environment has to play on certain things, as well as how much a person can lose and not realize it right away. It's a whole meaningful experience. It's more than words can really say. Yeah, DC, JCC put in a lot of effort to get this started, and I hope that they make another trip, because I would definitely go and do it again and come back down if they were to start it again. They're hardworking people. It's been a really good experience to be with all of them. I've learned a lot about different type of people, and it's helped me grow in terms of understanding and knowledge about people, and it's been a great experience. It's something I want to do again.
To see volunteer stories, go to www.projectkatrinavolunteers.net.
Know your basic rights when traveling. That is the focus of the web-based nonprofit organization dedicated to protecting the rights of travelers. The Consumer Travel Rights Center teaches travelers their basic legal rights and offers information to file complaints to protect those rights. MyTravelRights.com has several articles with the 411 on delayed and canceled flights, overboarding or denied boarding, and lost or damaged luggage. Learn how Rule 240 can help you get rebooked when your flight is delayed. MyTravelRights.com has a listing of informative articles and links to consumer travel sites. There's even a link to a worldwide currency converter site. To protect your rights, be sure to check out MyTravelRights.com.
Partners of the Americas is one of the oldest international volunteer organizations. Started during the John F. Kennedy administration, this volunteer entity created partnerships between U.S. states and Caribbean and Latin American countries. Travel Television spoke with the organization's executive director, Steve Vetter.
I'm Steve Vetter. I'm the president and CEO of Partners of the Americas. I've been working now with Partners for 2 years. Partners, I think, is really captured in the name of the organization, Partners, and it's of the Americas. And the original idea that came out of the Alliance for Progress with John Kennedy was that we would hook up areas between North America and South America and develop programs that created understanding and improved the life of the inhabitants in the Americas. There are really basically three things that we try to do. The first one is connect, and connect people well so that they can serve, and through that service, change and transform lives. What we find is that there's a superabundance of people who would like to serve, to change lives, but it's in the area of our ability to connect people well that we find our greatest challenge. One of the things we found out about volunteers is that they don't want to waste their time, and they do want to make a difference, and they do want to improve the world. So we've really been looking at how we connect them around really good programs where they can serve and serve readily and make a difference. One of the things that's always fascinated me are those who care to serve and those who do not. And I remember watching still these TV shows where there'll be the story of someone in New York City or in Oakland where there's a woman being beaten or raped or mugged, and they'll catch on the security cameras 30-some people walk by before the first person intervenes to save them. And I remember once in Oakland after the earthquakes and the fires, they captured 26 people. Each of them stopped, saw a ailing woman in a house on fire, and went on. And finally, the 27th, the person decided to risk their life, go in and free this woman, which they did. So I always ask myself the question, Why was it this one out of 26? What prepared them to take that risk, serve someone else, and what is it that we need to know about that? And I remember asking this question over and over again, and there was a woman at the independent sector named Virginia Hodgkinson, who did a lot of the research on the nonprofit sector. And she took her research students, and they took 100 givers, known givers, and 100 non-givers, and tried to understand what their impulses were. And she started with the wealthiest down to the poorest in both categories, and they measured three things: the amount of time they donated, the amount of money that they gave, and the amount of blood they donated, which intrigued me because I'd never thought about that. But she thought that was really one of the threshold indicators on service, was the ability to risk yourself in a medical setting to literally give your life force. So after they interviewed these 200 people, she called me up and said, "Steve, you're not going to believe this, but we found out that they have something in common, that somewhere between the ages of 6 and 13, they were involved in a youth development program, usually organized by a church or a civic group or the Scouts, and that if it was really well organized and they took their impulse to serve and they were well received and had the satisfaction of seeing a change, that it created an almost narcotic-like effect in their lives that they sustained throughout their lives." The reverse of that is if that youth development program was not well organized, the beneficiary was rejected, if the youngster was not received and was felt like an outcast, you would never get them back. And it was at that point I realized the volatility of the impulse to serve and why youth development is so important. I mean, you're literally creating and forming the future leaders, good or bad, in a society by the way we handle each other. So Partners of the Americas is really looking at this issue of how we connect through really good programs that work.
The Toolies, as they're known at Central United Methodist Church in Traverse City, Michigan, have learned a few things about doing relief work and rebuilding in the U.S. and other countries.
And this is pretty heavy duty. We have a smaller air compressor that we use with smaller nail guns.
They know if you don't have the right gear, the work slows down. So the church bought a trailer and filled it with supplies. It's not just for the Toolies, it's for anyone doing construction projects for victims of disasters or people in need.
We intended this as a trailer that would be available to any church organization or civic organization.
6 Toolies maintain the trailer and loan it out for free.
We don't put limits on it, but we just want to feel that we're wearing the tires off this thing, and we don't want it rusting out sitting in a parking lot somewhere.
Recently, another church took the trailer to Iowa, rebuilding flood-damaged homes. The trailer was on location most of summer 2008 at a Habitat for Humanity site.
It makes a big difference. It's probably twice as quick to do things.
The trailer and equipment are a $5,000 investment, but the Toolies don't worry about others using it.
We trust them. They're working on a great cause, and that's a real rewarding feeling, knowing that you're making a difference in people's lives. It's like we're putting our blessing on the project by saying, here, you have all this equipment, do your best.
Friends and neighbors come to help in the Gulf Coast. Estimates of volunteers in the first year exceed 500,000. The scope of the problem will need twice that number in the next year.
Volunteers are the fuel that's going to rebuild the Gulf Coast.
It's just devastating. You can't put it into words. You have to come down and experience it and help.
Voluntourism.org is the original source of information on the unique combination of travel and volunteering your time and service. Founded by David Clemens, who is credited with coining the term voluntourism, he has been guiding the voluntourism.org site for 7 years. Clemens helped to shape the debate and crystallize the focus on this important travel niche. David Clemens produces a weekly podcast about the industry and is often quoted on the topic. David shares his perspective on the history of voluntourism.
3 areas where voluntourism likely will go into the future as it pertains to voluntours. We'll always have those folks that are going to rely on other organizations to plan their voluntourism travel. That will be the case for many decades and years ahead. But what's going to happen with those folks that want to begin to engage in voluntourism on their own? What does that look like? And how do we begin to educate them on how far they go in organizing their own trips? How do they evolve as a voluntourist? Should everyone that ever approaches this type of travel always go with an outfitter or an operator before they travel? My personal opinion on that is yes. You should always engage in this type of travel with an organization first, before you try to plan it yourself. Why? Because you can see the mistakes that you might run into, the issues that you might have to deal with through the process. So I do think that we will begin to see travelers wanting to embark in this type of travel without the services of an outfitter or an operator. But let's don't forget that they should still have the support that they need. So then what about the volunteers that don't even know about voluntourism today? What about that group? How are they going to come online when we talk about voluntourism? How are they going to be educated about even this being a possibility if volunteering is not even part of their vocabulary or their lifestyle today? So that's going to be our other third group. If we look at it's the volunteers that know nothing about this subject, the volunteers that feel like they know a lot about it and want to begin to practice their own, and then the folks that have become interested in it because they've read about it in the media, they've seen it on television, but they really are not sure that they're capable of doing something on their own. So those are really our 3 groups that we're going to see. We're going to see people from India beginning to travel this way. We're going to see people from Brazil beginning to travel this way. We're going to see people from non-English speaking countries beginning to travel this way. Whereas Canada, the UK, Australia, the United States, Western Europe, where English language is spoken, these have been places where your volunteers have been coming from. We're going to see this broadening of voluntourism. Magazines like Cosmos in Greece that have recently featured an 8-page story on voluntourism in Greek, not in English. So we're going to see more publications around the world, more groups around the world beginning to focus on this. And the distinction is that whereas in the Western market, English speaking, the way they've been able to reach these travelers is through the volunteer hook. What we're going to see is more of the travel hook being what pulls these folks from other non-English speaking countries into the fold and participating in voluntourism. So the future is very exciting because the nonprofit industry that has been the driver in the West for this type of travel is going to be flipped when we cross into the Eastern Hemisphere and the non-English speaking parts of Asia, etc., where the travel industry is going to be what lures people in to then want to adopt practices that are more socially responsible, like volunteers.
My camera!
It's right here in my hand.
Okay.
80% rebuilt, however, so it was nothing compared to what these people are going through. You know, I've been able to live in my home and all that kind of stuff, you know. So I'll be honest with you, I haven't been down there yet.
From the NOAA rebuild office to the lower 9th Ward, you see a wasteland. Block after block after block, you find car after car wrecked by Katrina. Homes are flattened, crushed, washed away from their foundations. We're at the Chicken Box, or what was the Chicken Box, in the lower 9th Ward, one of the areas hardest hit by Katrina. Just beyond the rebuilt levee, it's mostly barren except for junk cars. Touring the lower 9th Ward, we meet an emotional Raquel Webb. Just returning from a wedding reception, she's showing her old neighborhood to friends.
They don't show this on the news. They show the economical aspects of it and make it look like everything is okay, and everything is not okay. It's about to be a year, and it's pathetic. Look at this. You know, people still missing. You need to do something so we can at least put closure to, you know, it's just a lot go through you, a lot.
If you had the ear of the governor or the mayor, what would you say to them?
Please put time and money and I don't know, just put the same thing you would put in a French Quarters, Canal Street, put it down here. You know, it's taking too long. And I'm a patient person, but it's taking long. And it's heartbreaking when I come down here. I try to hold it, but it hurts, you know, to come down here and see this like this a year later, you know? It's sad.
27-year-old Webb says she feels lost. She has nothing to come back to. Her childhood community has been destroyed. Did you lose any friends, any relatives?
My friend. Daughter, I think, when I look on, you know, on a mortuary list, and so far she is the youngest one. She was 3 years old. I just showed her my house where a girl that I grew up with, they found dead in there maybe 3 months ago. You know, laying in her bed with a TV on her.
Now living in Dallas, Webb returns to New Orleans periodically. She's upset that little progress has been made in the lower 9th Ward.
I believe in going stuff, but it's hard, it's rough. And you try to go on, you know, like it never happened, but this worse than that to me. When you got stores running and everything else up on that side of town, and you can't even get the sewage straight over here a year later.
For those who march to the beat of their own drum, there's nothing quite like exploring a new place on their own. If you're one of those free spirits planning to see the world solo, check out solotravel.org. This website is packed with advice gleaned from previous travelers, including tips for meeting other travelers, dining alone, and keeping you and your valuables safe. The site also features travel stories, allowing members to report, in their own words, their experiences in Europe, North and South America, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. If you're planning on going solo, be sure to check out solotravel.org.
We're in Taipei, and we want to head to the south of Taiwan to check out that part of this country. And the way we're going to do that is on their new high-speed rail. Why we take the bullet train? To get to Tainan, where they're having the Beehive Festival. It only happens once a year during Chinese New Year, and as you can see, it's a little crazy. Right now, I can smell all of the sulfur and the smoke from the fireworks because they just had a ton of firecrackers go off. And in fact, they actually gave you these masks to wear because the smell is so strong. Later, we're going to get in the beehive, which is where all the fireworks are going off, and we're going to cover ourselves up to protect ourselves. We're going to have helmets on, we're going to wrap our necks, we're going to wear gloves, and we're going to try to save our fingers. So there's more to it than just fireworks and firecrackers. As you can see, there are food stalls, there are games, there are tons of things to do here, and we're going to take advantage of it right now. So, it gets a little crazy in the beehive, so you actually have to wear helmets like this one right here. Literally cover yourself up, put earplugs on, and you need to wear a coat. I see some people walking around, it looks like they're wearing firefighter coats because they're going to be in the middle of it when it gets going.
I'm putting my last earplug in. As you can see, I'm dressed pretty well. Mask on, gloves, helmet. Uh-oh, here we go. I'm ready. So as you can see, it never really stops here, so if you get a chance, check out Beehive Festival here in Taiwan.
It takes so little. One person doing one thing, one person on a team of 10 gutting a house, one person serving food to a resident. It's so simple. There's so much to be done, and it really, I mean, I think people get overwhelmed and they think, like, what can I possibly do? Come down here. You can do the smallest thing, and it makes such a big difference.